Hi, it's Bree. I am here to do my Friday reads. The lighting is a little weird. I waited a little too long, I think. So the first thing I did this week was I finished The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. It's about a woman who is kind of telling her life for her granddaughter. She grew up in Canada, and her she was always kind of taking care of her sister. And after her sister's death, she finds this big story that gets published that's kind of a science fiction novel. You find out some things about the girls, and especially about the main character's marriage. It's very interesting, very dynamic. I liked it quite a bit. It took me a little while to get into, admittedly. After that, I read American Gods by Neil Gaiman. This is really good. It follows a man's shadow who just gets out of prison, and then his wife dies. And on his way back, he's cornered by this stranger, Mr. Wednesday, who offers him a job. And it turns out the job is to help him convince all of these people to go to war. And it's very interesting, kind of has some good stuff about the gods, kind of. And he travels a lot. It's very dynamic. And then I read Wool by Hugh Howey. Wool is, it's a post-apocalyptic novel about this woman, Jules, and her entire society is in this underground silo. And they think that they're the only people in the world. No one ever leaves except for the cleaners. And the cleaners go out to clean off the cameras that are kind of covered in dust and grime. They always die. They never come back. And everyone just thinks that they're stuck. And when Jules becomes the sheriff, she is kind of propelled into finding out all of these secrets about their society and the things that kind of go on behind the scenes. And really there are some dark secrets. It's very good. For more about it, I do have a review on my blog that I'll link in the description below. I also read The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry, which is a new release. It came out this week on Tuesday. And it follows this kind of crabby old bookseller. And his wife has just died. His business is failing. And then someone just leaves a baby in his store with a note that says that this woman wants her daughter to grow up to love books. And Fikry kind of takes her in and eventually adopts the little girl. And his whole life changes. And in doing so, he lives in a really small town, and he and his daughter wind up changing the town. People who, really only read bestsellers or never read at all are coming into his bookstore. And he's learning a lot about himself and his daughter in the process. So it's very interesting. I also read The Raven's Warrior by Victor Pratchett, I think his name is. It's a King Arthur retelling where Arthur is kind of a Celtic slave who is taken to the Near East, where he meets Malin, who he calls Merlin, and it's kind of his story of becoming Arthur. I didn't really like it. It was a lot of kind of purple prosy narration. It wasn't bad by any means. It just was really slow, really flowery, didn't really make a lot of sense sometimes. It takes place in multiple perspectives, and none of the perspectives are marked. So you never know when you're switching from one character to another, which is a difficult thing to follow. And then on top of that, for some reason, even though they're in the Near East, Merlin speaks fluent, Gaelic, and so they can communicate, except for, even though he can philosophize and really is very eloquent as a speaker. He doesn't know the word for chains. At one point, some stuff just wasn't very believable. But it wasn't bad, it just wasn't for me. This week I'm going to be reading The Furies of Calderon. I know I said I was going to say this, or I know I said I was going to read this last week, and I just didn't kind of get to it. I got distracted by other things. And I'm also hoping to read Dune by Frank Herbert. It's a classic, and I just still haven't read it. So we'll see. I'm gonna check in with you guys later on in the week, let you know what's going on. You can always follow my Goodreads to see my progress and what is on my current TBR as the week kind of goes along. Or you can follow me on Twitter because I do updates there too. All of those links are down below, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Friday. Bye!